Hoy te presentamos a una verdadera líder en el mundo empresarial y comunitario, Maryanne Piña. Maryanne es la CEO y dueña mayoritaria de Career Management Partners, una empresa que ha revolucionado la gestión de carreras desde su sede en Dallas. CMP, por sus siglas, ha experimentado un crecimiento explosivo con alcance nacional y global. Pero lo que realmente distingue a Maryanne es su compromiso con sus clientes, candidatos y comunidades. Es la mente maestra detrás de la renombrada Latino Career Assessment, que ha cambiado la vida de innumerables personas. Su influencia no se limita al mundo empresarial. Maryanne es miembro de múltiples juntas directivas, incluyendo Outplacement International Global Partners, The Dallas Regional Chamber, King Foundation, The Concilio, entre otros. Prepárate para conocer a Maryanne Piña, una mujer cuya visión y dedicación está forjando un futuro brillante para todos. Bienvenida, Maryanne Piña.
So, Maryanne Piña,
Yes.
thank you so much for making the time. You know, one of the things that really caught my attention as I was reading through your website was that when you were, I think in middle school, there was this trip that was for Europe. It was a Europe trip,
Correct,
right?
yes.
What was that thing that inspired you so much to immediately get on the discipline of saving everything that you were earning?
Wow, so you're starting off there. So that trip was actually high school, and being born and raised in McAllen, Texas, which is a border town in South Texas, I had the opportunity to travel to Europe at 17 years old. And so when I heard about the trip, though, you talk about the whys, because as a young kid of immigrant parents, you think you see these countries in the books and think, I could never be there, I could never go. And so when I had the opportunity to actually visit, I remember going home and telling my mom all about it, and she looks at me and she says, "Ay, mija, where are we going to get this money from?" And I said, "Mom, I will work." And she says, "Okay, work." So I worked for a whole year at Whataburger, and I saved every single penny, and I paid for my trip. And so I spent the summer in Europe. And you talk about the why, there was a reason, right? I wanted to explore. I wanted to know more beyond what McAllen, Texas was.
The reason I asked the question is because you visualize something.
Yeah.
And I think that relates to a lot of what you've been accomplishing to today. You can't get to a place unless you visualize, and there was work. So there's a lot of lessons, even on that Europe trip, right? To say you saw yourself going there, and then you found a solution to get there. There was nothing. There was no.
There's no barrier.
No
You're
barrier.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Right. So that's the mindset that I'm trying to extract. Like,
Sure.
what was the inspirational thing? Was it just that you saw it on the books, or was it just that it was challenging to you and you're like, no, I could do this?
Yeah.
What was it?
I think first and foremost, I wanted to explore. I knew that there was a possibility for me to be able to see something new and have a new experience. And it was something that I wanted. And so you're absolutely right. I think me putting that in my mindset of this is what I want to do, I'm going to do it, and working for it, I think is tied back to my own core values of just working hard and having faith and having that aspiration that if you set your mind to it, anything is possible.
Right. Now, you didn't just get those values out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
If you could take us back to maybe what did you give credit to that at such a young age you had those values already? Was it your parents?
Absolutely. I would say two things. One, definitely my upbringing, my mom and my dad, my siblings. I'm the youngest of four, so that matters. And number two, DNA. So your DNA matters, and how you're raised and the culture that you're raised in also matters. And so growing up, first and foremost, my parents are brilliant individuals. The circumstances were different for them. They didn't have the opportunity to have the education that I have been able to. So that's one. And then two, just really understanding of what drives me, and having faith and having love and having the foundation from my parents and my siblings has been able to propel me to be able to understand and see that there's a bigger purpose of why I'm here.
What were those difficult moments in your life that you felt like you wanted just to give up? If you can share a moment.
Oh my gosh. I'll share one that has led me to where I am today. Because I think a lot of times individuals go into education and they go into organizations thinking they know what they want, but they don't. I know that I didn't. And so for me, my biggest pivotal point in my own journey was actually leaving a 10-year tenure within the organization that I was in. And so I remember waking up, I remember going to bed. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and my head was just spinning, and I ended up in the hospital that night. The doctors ran blood tests, MRI, CT scans, Mauricio. They did everything. I was in the hospital for about 4 or 5 hours, and what the doctor came back to me and said was, Maryanne, you're perfectly fine. We see nothing. What is going on in your personal life? And I stopped and thought about it, and I was doing such a great job in my role, but I wasn't enjoying it. And I think that's the piece that's missing for a lot of individuals, to be able to understand and identify their core needs in their lives and frame it in a way that they can be successful in whatever it is that they choose to do. And so what I realized that at that point was I needed to make a change, and I did. And so had I not left education, I probably would not be sitting here talking to you. And I think that's part of the journey, is learning to be okay with fear and taking the risk for the opportunities that are to come.
Going through school, how did you do that? I mean, you're a part of the very few, maybe a selected 7%, maybe less than 10% of people who reach your level of education level per se. You know, so take us to how you actually were able to accomplish that.
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest with you. I just figured it out. I wish I would have like a script and say X, Y, Z when it comes to.
Did you have clarity? That's what I'm saying.
There was absolutely, there was not, yes and no. So I'll answer by saying the fact that I went into education because mom kind of molded me, saying, Mary, you should probably be a teacher. You like playing teacher. And so this is where I talk about the value of the foundation of your parents, right? They really do mold and influence how you think and how you behave. And so with that in mind, I kind of had clarity because mom said, be a teacher. I went into the realm of being a teacher, but I was so young. Who knows what they want to be when they're 17, 18 years old? Sometimes you have clarity, sometimes you don't. And so I went into an industry that I thought was going to work out for me, but I was bored out of my mind, Mauricio. I could not be doing the same thing 8 to 3 every single day. And so with that being said, how did I get the level of education? I think it goes back to our own core values of what do you value? And for me, one thing that's true is that I'm a continuous learner. And it doesn't have to be formal education anymore at this point. And it actually never really has to be formal education at all. Okay. I think living in the social constructs that we live in, you are operating by what others are thinking and wanting you to do. And so as a result, we follow this mold of, I have to do X, Y, Z to reach B, right? Or whatever. And so I don't operate that way anymore. And that's been a part of the journey of making sure that I value education, but it doesn't always have to be formal.
So what's this, you said, I didn't enjoy teaching. That's why you're more in an entrepreneurial role, right? Solving, we'll talk about the problems that you're out there solving. And you like it over here because you get to be more creative? Is that what it is?
Absolutely. So if I were to identify my 3 core needs with you, first and foremost, I need freedom in my life. Number 2, I do need creativity. So you picked up on that. And number 3, I need impact. So whatever it is that I'm doing in my life, I need freedom, creativity, and impact. And I'm able to do that now as an entrepreneur, right? And so I have the freedom to choose what programs we're doing, what clients we go after, right? I have the flexibility, I have the opportunity to have the creativity to operate and implement programs that we need, like the Latino Career Assessment, which is the first validated assessment for an ethnic group in our community. And then number 3 is impact. Everything that we do as an organization isn't necessarily just because we have to do it. It's because there's a gap in the market. It's because we want to have an impact in the organizations and the individuals that we work with. And that is what drives our passion and our values as a whole.
Okay. For the people that may not know, what is your company solving right now specifically? If you want to go deeper into
Yeah.
exactly what is that you invest your days in right now.
Sure. So as a firm, we serve in the human capital space. So everything from executive recruiting, leadership development, executive coaching, outplacement services, and within all of that, we do a lot of assessment for selection and assessment for development. So what does that mean? We help organizations because organizations are either hiring, developing, or firing, right? One of the biggest things that we are doing as a firm now is we're really supporting the Latino community and changing that Latino cohort narrative with the Latino career assessment. As I talk to a lot of young Latino professionals, one of the things that I hear constantly is, I'm scared to speak up. Why? Well, because my boss is older. Well, because my boss is this. And so when we think about our own Latino cultural scripts, talk about our upbringing, I think as Hispanics, we value the concept of respect so much that when we make it to the table, it's like, how do I push back? How do I disagree with my boss without ruffling the feathers? A lot of individuals don't know how to do that. And that is what we are doing as a firm across the nation, supporting Latino professionals, find that reach of career progression to have a level of self-awareness and reach the goals that they want.
Yeah, you know, I think that leadership is one of the most noble things anybody can do. How would Maryanne define leadership or a leader?
That's a great question. I think leadership, you know, you hear a lot of times, oh, leaders are born, and I think leaders are made. And
Yeah.
I think it's a journey being a leader. Sometimes you don't know. I also think that it's very situational. The leader you are with a certain individual is not the leader that you need to be with someone else. And so when people ask me this, I am so grateful for the 10 years that I spent in education because it gave me the foundation to be a leader. And this is where I gravitated to. I differentiate depending on the people that I meet, the people, what they need, and differentiation definitely matters, and that's situational leadership.
Well, I see a leader here because a leader is a doer, and you're definitely breaking barriers and being a CEO of an organization that's focusing and creating even more leaders, right? That's a very noble thing to do.
Thank you.
I think you inspire a lot of Latinas and women in general, and people in general, not necessarily just women. What question I ask, if you had 5 years to live, would you be doing this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny you asked that question because that's something that my husband and I ask ourselves and ask our kids and ask those around us. In fact, we wrote a book about it, and it's called Don't Dread Monday.
It got me thinking.
And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, is because I'm still living to my core values and I'm sticking to it, Mauricio, and I think that's very important. If at a point in my life I feel that I don't have the freedom or the creativity or the impact that I'm supposed to be having, then I'm not in the right place.
Those are your non-negotiables.
Yes.
Okay, very good. For women and for general public, do you have any last message you want to give to them in terms of whatever you want to give them to, go and achieve their dreams?
I would say live with purpose, love, faith, and determination. Yeah.
Determination, that is that's omnipotente. Well,
Yeah, omnipotente, there you go.
La perseverancia es omnipotente, right?
Claro.
Because we were going to do this Spanglish interview. We
cierto.
went to more English, but that's fine. No, that's perfectly fine. So what are you working on right now? And I know what you're growing this company and creating a big impact. Is there something else that you are doing right now that people would want to know?
It ties back to the Latino community. We are creating the first ever Latino career progression study in the United States. I think so many times data is important, stats are important. But in order to make a difference in the Latino cohort, we need to create a level of self-awareness within them to be able to better understand who they are and how they need to progress. And so that is currently one of our projects right now.
That is that fire, that's firing everything that is leading to where you are today.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm so tired of hearing so many Latino professionals tell me, Maryanne, I feel stuck. Maryanne, I don't know why I'm not getting promoted. Maryanne, why? whatever that may be. And so I look at them and then I look at myself. If it would have been me 15 years ago, I think I was in the same place. And so by my faith, by the love of my family, and just having the tenacity, the determination to say, there is something bigger in this world, and I still haven't reached it. I tell this to Joe all the time. God has something greater for me, and I'm just at the surface. And so for me to feel this way, I know there is a purpose for what I'm doing. To be able to launch the Latino Career Assessment just a year ago and have so many organizations reaching out to me to be able to support the Latino cohort is something that I dreamt of, took action, and I have the phenomenal team that said, Maryanne, let's do this.
There are probably some things that you've been wanting to scream and say that some, for whatever reason, you haven't really said it, that could inspire everybody, which continues to, that goes back to that one thing that drives. The true driver is that you looking at our community as an example and say, man, we could be so much more if, I don't know what's really missing. I don't have the answers to that, but that's what you've been looking for, right? This is where, that's kind of what you've been visualizing in yourself and for other people.
Absolutely, and you know what, I'll add to that, and I think we're already fighters. Like, I don't care, los mexicanos, dominicanos, los colombianos, we are all more similar than different, right? And so we're already fighters. We already have the values to help us succeed. And this is one of the missing pieces that I see so many times, is the fact that people don't or are not taking control of their lives. They're not taking control of their careers. And so with a little bit of education, with a little bit of the nudge, a little bit of just curiosity, please be curious as to what is out there and not conform to what you have or to what the government says that you can have, because the opportunities are endless. And that's what I see, and that's what I want, not just for my family and for myself, but my friends, my community. I love my Latino community. I love everything that we're doing here. So being able to lock hands and make sure that we're controlling the narrative is important to me.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that triggered your tears, and not to cause pain.
Yeah.
I'm only curious, because obviously anybody would agree that one of the toughest things that any human could experience in life is losing a loved one. And you talked about your father passed away, and that brought you to tears. Mm-hmm. The reason I want to go back there is just to see if there was something at that moment that made you mature so much faster, that was that pivotal, was that shift in your life that is what made you today.
I think that it was a reminder to realize that life is short, that we're all here for a reason, and that if you're not serving and having an impact, what are you here for? We go back to your original question, if you had 5 years to live. I stick by what I do, because I know that at the end of the day, I'm having the impact. And when I think about Dad, you know, Dad was a Marine, and so if you know anything about the Marines, you know that there's no man left behind.
Correct.
And so that's kind of like the mantra that I'm living by. I know the opportunities, especially here in the United States. My parents came here for a reason, and so I don't want to leave any Latino behind. That's how I'm thinking about it, and that's why I get so emotional, because Dad was a great influence.
So, Maryanne, again, thank you so much for leading us all and inspiring us all. Very good. So, guys, if you found value in this interview, make sure that you follow Maryanne Piña. Her information will be somewhere in this video. Make sure to go follow her on Instagram as well, and social media. Anywhere else they could follow you, I guess that social media.
Social media, anywhere on social media.
Absolutely. So, Maryanne, thank you once again for sharing your journey with us and those ways of thinking, those paradigms.
Yeah, it's all about how we think. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. We'll see you.